Sarah Pantry. You might know me as Daft Cat Brewing from YouTube. I'm the organiser of the Welsh Nationals, so that's coming up in a couple of months. We've got over 300 entries booked in already for this year. I'm also a BJCP judge, but I didn't want to put the BJCP logo on the slides just in case anyone got upset about that. So, let's have a look at the origins of Imperial Stout. This book here, which is the Handbook of Porters and Stouts by Josh Christie and Chad Polens, it looks like it's on animation, so you're going to have to hit it until... So, according to these guys, the history of Russian Imperial Stout is that it came into being at the end of the 17th century. It's all down to Peter the Great. He tried porter in England, he loved the London porter, and wanted it shipped over to Russia. Unfortunately, the porter didn't survive the journey, and it went bad. Does this start to sound a bit familiar here? So they're saying they upped the alcohol, the malt, and made it so that it could survive the journey. Now this is starting to sound very like the IPA origins myth. So that's been well and truly busted. Unfortunately, this is not the origin of Imperial Stout. So in this book, they describe it a little bit differently. So this one is Brewing Porters and Stouts, and this is by Terry Foster. He's done a lot of classic beer styles and brewing books. He's a very good author who does quite a bit of research in them. In this one, he says, well, Peter the Great came to England around 1697. 1698, he was back in Russia. He died in 1725, and it's unlikely that he had ever actually tasted London Porter at any time. So he certainly didn't ask for it to be imported into the Russian court. Berkeley Perkins actually started exporting porter to Russia in 1797. It was the strongest version of porter that they actually had. It wasn't what was called stout when they exported it. They exported porter, but other breweries called it stout. It became to be known as Russian Imperial Stout. It continued to be brewed up until the 90s with very few changes. So Courage originally brewed it, and then another Southwark brewer took over. I'm going to shut up about Berkeley Perkins now. You won't hear me mention it again this talk. I had to get that one. If no one knows what it is, Shut Up About Berkeley Perkins is a brilliant brewing blog. The guy does a lot of research into the history of styles and different brewing techniques. Look it up. Okay, so I have put the BJCP logo on this one because this is the BJCP style overview of 20C Imperial Stout. It's an intensely flavoured Big Dirk Ale with a wide range of flavour balances and regional interpretations. There's a roasty burnt malt with deep Dirk or dried fruit flavours and a warming bittersweet finish. So these two are very important. You'll see a lot of ores with Imperial Stout. It can be very roasty, so a lot of chocolate, or it can be a lot of fruit. It's a very diverse style. So this is the important bit of the whole lot here, down at the bottom. Despite the intense flavours, the components need to meld together to create a complex, harmonious beer and not a hot mess. I don't know how many of you have been to any sort of brewing competition and drunk some of the entries. You see quite a few of these. Imperial Stout isn't just about making the biggest beer that you can that is black, because that's what some people seem to do. So, I'm not going to go through all the different sections of the BJCP style, but the thing to bear in mind with 20C, everything in this style is very wide. So the malt aromas can be very light, or they can be very strong. The hop aromas can be very low, or they can be very aggressive. It can be anything from relatively dry to moderately sweet. So you can see already, it's actually quite a hard style to pin down that this is an Imperial Stout. So, when it comes to flavour, what do we have? One end, we have chocolate, cocoa, bitter chocolate, coffee, or you can have raisins, plums, prunes going on. You don't normally see both of them in the same beer. They don't normally work too well together, but you'll see some stouts that work more towards one style or one end of it than the other. So for instance, this end, you'll have something like Buxton Extra Stout. You'll have the beer we were supposed to be having tonight, which is Northern Monk's Death. That's definitely more at the cocoa end. For raisin, plums and prunes, you get quite a lot of that from, you can get some from Rain Shadow, which is another Buxton. You'll also see it in Tool's Long Time No See. And it can be full-bodied, but not always. So if it's left to long condition, maybe in wood, maybe not, the body will start to fall off, so it's not even full-bodied anymore. So you're looking at a beer that can basically cover a wide variety of descriptions. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to run you through a typical recipe. Is everyone here a brewer? Does everyone brew something? Yeah? Some brewers here. Yeah, this recipe won't help you brew tea. But it might give you a bit of coffee. So a 19-litre batch of imperial stout, a typical recipe, you've got an 88% of your grist is going to be pale malt. So this is going to give you your base malt, 5.7 kilos. Then we go into your dirt malt. So roasted barley, about 290 grams. Dirt crystal, 210. Chocolate malt. Chocolate malt is a bit of a misnomer. It doesn't give you chocolate. What chocolate malt gives you is a gorgeous name with some burnt ashy characteristics in your beer. So if you want chocolate, don't put chocolate malt in. Brown malt, 180 grams. And then we'll go on to the hops. So that's all your grain bill. So EKG, who doesn't love EKG? Is there anyone who hates EKG? It's a lovely hop. It's so versatile. 60 minutes, 69 grams. Okay. And then steam, quick flame out, 56 grams. So that is a typical recipe for an imperial stout taken from the classic beer styles book.
Which imperial stout are we drinking?
This is Opeth. It's another Northern Monk beer. It's their anniversary one. I'll go through this in a minute. So a little bit about brewing techniques. Sorry, one sec. There's several different ways you can make an imperial stout. One is to use a lot of malt. So we've got the Epic Malt Bill. So on the American Homebrewers Association, they've got a recipes section. And you can download all the recipes there that have won the big American homebrewing competitions, that they've got medals, all that sort of thing. One of them is called Epic Stout. It features over 13.5 kilos of malt for a 19-litre batch. And there's 15 different malts in this one beer. 15 malts. It comes out at about 12.7%, that last one did. It's supposed to be really good, but I haven't got a mash tun big enough to fit all that malt in. So if you can't fit it all in, something else you can do is the long boil. This is Long Time No See by 12. So this was supposed to be a nice, subtle, low alcohol stout. So they mashed it as usual, put it in the boil kettle, and promptly forgot about it for 6 hours. 6 hours later, they come back, didn't know what to do. Well, we've done it, we'll ferment it out anyway. And this is the result. It's a 9.1% ABV beast. It is absolutely stunning. And you would not guess that the recipe was designed to be a subtle, low alcohol stout. So that's just one way you can brew a big imperial stout without too much of a big malt mash tun. So, your equipment, you can really end up pushing it to the limit. You can get to the point where you can't get any more malt in there, whatever you do. So there's things you can still do. You can add some extract, so some DME or LME, dried malt, like liquid malt. Okay, sorry, I'll take the animations out. I'm so used to having a clicker. So just replace some of your base malt with extract. You can do this late in the process, just bung the extract into the kettle. But don't strip out all of your base malt, because you need some in there to give you the enzymatic action to convert the rest of your malt. So that's one way to just bulk up the ABV of your beer without adding too much malt in. Use malt extract. Some people add sugar or syrup, and there's nothing wrong with that. It is better if you do it and not just add table sugar though. You want something that's going to give you some more complexity, some more flavour. Something like the brown muscovado sugar. That actually gives quite a nice extra level of complexity to a stout. So some of the common additions, dark brown sugar like that. Molasses. Anyone use molasses? Absolutely gorgeous. If you can't get straight molasses, molasses sugar is another good one to go for. Treacle is a very common addition in this style of beer. If all that fails, you can add alcohol. It's a great way to increase the ABV of the beer. One of our friends here, some bourbon. Everyone's doing bourbon stouts nowadays. Not many people are actually just adding Jim Beam though. What they tend to be doing is aging it on wood, bourbon barrel aging, or adding wood chips, spirals. But this is another way to get it quickly. Just pour the bloody bourbon in the stout. So this is, like I say, it's a good way to just get the extra ABV without any more fuss. You can just add in vodka. If all you want is the extra alcohol, vodka's your friend. Bourbon or other flavoured spirits. Now, as you can see, this is not what we've got. This is what we were supposed to have. Unfortunately, Death is too popular and they haven't got any. So instead what we've got here is the Northern Monk Opeth. So has everyone been sipping away on this, having a good sniff? It's nice. What I'll do, I'll explain to you how I train beer judges to look at their beer, which is slightly different to how you might normally do it. What you normally see is people get a beer, stick their nose in. What that does, that blows out all the smell receptors in your nose, and you're not going to get a proper smell of it for a while. Good example there, waft it under your nose, or just take small sniffs of it. That way, you get a better analysis of the aroma from the beer. You don't just blow out all your smell receptors with one long sniff, and then you're like, oh, hang on, did I smell something? Oh, I can't smell it now, because it's all gone. So, what are people getting off this? If you smell this beer, what are you getting? Let's have some examples from you lot.
Licorice.
Licorice?
Prunes.
Prunes? Anything else? Yeah, you get molasses? Cold brewed coffee, anyone? A little bit of light roasted cold brewed coffee. But yeah, this is one that's fruitier than Death. Death is more cocoa, more chocolate. Give it a taste. swirl it around your mouth, and then swallow it. And then as you swallow it, breathe in through your mouth and out your nose. This is a technique called retronasal aroma. What you're doing, the warmth of your mouth is just bringing up other aromas in the beer that you might not have noticed. Hang on, I'm double-handed here. Trying to talk into the glass and drink the microphone. I haven't had that much, honest. So yeah, if you do it that way, when you breathe out and smell, you can actually taste smell some things that are quite different from what you get just sniffing in. In this case, I'm certainly detecting the alcohol a lot more. What do people think of the flavours? What are people getting here flavour-wise?
Roasty.
Roasty, yeah. There's a lot of roast malt. Christmas cake, that's a good one. Dark chocolate, yeah. Also known stateside as bitter chocolate. So if you ever see something described as that, then yeah, same things. Alcohol. It's big, it's boozy. Do you know what the ABV on this one was, Simon?
I say 16. No,
9.2. So even though it's 9.2 and it's under 10, you can still get the alcohol there. You're getting a good warmth. It's not a hot mess though, is it? It's not hot and burning. And that's what we were looking for in the style descriptions. Everything should meld together. So what do people think? Do they think this one melds together into a harmonious beer?
Pretty good.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Still sounds better.
Out of Imperial Stout, if I was judging this one at a BJCP comp, this would get about a 40. So Death would get about a 43.
Even more than? I'd say 45. Even more than?
I've never tried even more Death. Nowhere keeps it in stock long enough for me to get hold of. But yeah, I do want it. So yeah, this is a very nice example of the style. If you get a chance to get Death, Simon and myself both agree it's a better example of the style. Some other good examples I've already mentioned today. So the Tuel, Long Time No See, is a very good Imperial Stout. Buxton Extra Stout, when they do it, is also an amazing Imperial Stout. So there we go, I'll leave it at that. Has anyone got any questions?
What do you think about lactose in Imperial Stout?
That's a very good question.
Thank you.
Personally, I'm not a big fan of lactose in Imperial Stout.
Why?
It makes a very good milk stout. For me, the sweetness that you get from lactose is a bit different than the sweetness you get from the malt. To me, an Imperial Stout is all about the malt. And you will get malt sweetness left over when you're trying to push yeast to 12, 14%. There's normally enough sweetness left over. Lactose can have its benefits though, especially if your beer has come out a bit too sour, because you can add lactose late in the process, which you can't do. You can't unferment some of the malt that's in there, but you can add lactose to just sweeten it a little bit.
Your recipe didn't have any yeast in it,
I'll turn around and ask one of the experts at Lalaman what they'll recommend for a high ABV beer.
I probably recommend using Nottingham, to be honest with you.
London fog! Loser!
Give it a really good agitation on day two. Yeah.
would need a bit of activity, a bit like the old Ringwood strain. That's not known for being that active. It needs regular rousing to finish up. So yeah, that would be a good choice. Personally, I'll probably either do that or I'll just use one of the traditional English ale strains from any supplier.
Portuguese imperial usually all white and sound.
Yeah? That's interesting. He said that there's a Portuguese imperial stout he's tried. They use BOY 97. Thinking about it, I had a couple when I was over there that were really good actually, some local Portuguese imperial stouts, but they don't ship them, so no one's going to get them, so I didn't bother remembering what the name was after I left.
I would say if you don't need really decent yeast and going local brewery and actually getting a slurry from a brewery and actually using that.
It can help, it all depends on what yeast strain they're using. Yeah. Because what a lot of breweries use now is some variation of USO5, the Chico strain. Off the top of my head, I don't believe it's got that higher alcohol tolerance. If they're using an appropriate yeast or they're brewing an imperial stout and you can get some yeast slurry from that, yeah, you'll be good. A fresh yeast pitch with slurry straight from the brewery within 24 hours is going to be a lot better than packaged yeast. Even if you're using liquid yeast, it's been in that packet for a minimum of 2 weeks by the time it gets to your door. The yeast isn't as viable as it would be straight out the brewery tanks. Personally though, I'm a bigger fan of dry yeast instead of liquid yeast. But when it comes straight from the brewery tank like that, brilliant. Yeah, any more?
Do you think there's a sweet spot with aging?
Another very good question. Is there a sweet spot with aging? I know a lot of people who like aging their stouts, their imperial stouts, for a long time. There was a theory going around a while back that for every percent over 6%, you should add another month on. I don't hold to that. If it's a commercial one, it's ready when the brewer releases it. Yeah, it'll get better for a couple of years, but it's ready to be drunk there and then. If it's one that you're brewing yourself, it's ready when you judge it's ready. That could be 6 months. It could be 60 months. One of the ones that I showed you earlier, the Epic malt, the Epic Stout, they say that's sort of, you need to do a minimum of 6 months, up to 60 months aging on that before it's any good.
Other than temperature fluctuation, is there any benefit in aging?
If you're aging it in bulk in wood, then yes, temperature fluctuations will help a lot. What you're trying to do when you age in wood, you're trying to extract some of the wood character. Temperature fluctuations help the wood absorb and release the liquid. That helps you get some of the extra character out of the wood. You can achieve the same impact by using finer cut wood to start with. Or there was, from the hop talk, there was talk of that Provoke, which was a dry hop you could use that also had oak in it. And that might be an interesting way to go. I'm going to have to try that myself.
No more than 7 days though.
Oh, there we go. No more than 7 days for that, but it does sound like a very
Otherwise
nutritional.
it tastes like grass.
There you go. That's possibly an answer. I can't comment for sure. I haven't tried that. But yeah, if you're using proper wood or proper barrel, temperature fluctuations either throughout the day or a temperature cycle like that will help you get the best out of the barrel or the wood. I think that's it.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Bye.